Hello, this is Terry Morris, and this is my Facebook Live that I do every Tuesday. If you're there, you might say hello, and thank you very much for joining me. So today I thought I would do a Facebook Live on DIY websites. I was really curious. There was a thread that question that was posed by Annette on, that she wants to do a DIY website. And what are the things that she thinks of? She heard that Wix was good or whatever, so she wanted to know a little bit more about that. And lo and behold, there was loads of advice and comments and suggestions. And some of them are people who actually create websites, people who have created them, they do that for a living. Some of them who are from people who have had different experiences. So all of the input is very good and it's very interesting. And I just thought that in this Facebook Live that I would answer some of your questions. So this is actually a really, really big topic, and I can't cover everything today. So I thought I'd just take maybe some of the main tips, and if you have some specific questions, I'll answer those. So let me just see I'm in the right place here for a minute. Just hold on. 1 second here. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I can answer all of your questions. Okay, so yeah, I'm in the right place here. So just before I start, I just want a full disclosure, okay? I became a Strikingly reseller earlier this year. I have worked with WordPress sites. I have been in IT for over 20 years, and I have also worked with Wix, Weebly, and Squarespace. So I did a lot of research on this. And for me, I just was so impressed with Strikingly that not only did I start giving classes in it, but earlier this year I decided to become a Strikingly reseller. Now, I just say that when people ask me about, if they ask me about their own websites, I'm not going to suggest everyone use Strikingly at all. From my point of view, I'm more interested in building a relationship than because I'm planning on being this on the long term, than to suggest everybody just kind of go to Strikingly. So from my point of view, I will tell you honestly what I think for your particular situation. If you have a WordPress site, it may not be feasible for you. It may not be the right thing for you at this point in time. But certainly for a lot of people starting out, I would consider looking at some of these, what they're called software as a service platforms, because I think that there's huge benefits over with these platforms over things like WordPress, but I will talk about that. Okay, so just one thing maybe to start off with is just to talk about the differences between, I'll start off talking about the differences between WordPress and some of the software as a service sites. But I also, because I can't cover everything, I'm going to try to cover things like, say, the skills involved, maybe the costs involved, the support, things like that. If you have specific questions, please put them in the Facebook Live, okay? The other thing just to say as well is, for me, I think that when people start thinking about, what's the better platform, I actually think that most people should be thinking about other questions beforehand. So some of the questions that you want to be thinking about is what do you want to do with your website and what are you using it for? Websites are like your Facebook page. They're a tool for your business, and so they're going to take time to maintain. They're going to take they're a cost to you, both in terms of your time and actual monetary ways as well. So really just to have a think about what you want your website for, and what are the key features that you want out of that website, and what are the tools then that are going to get you there. So for me, these are kind of the bigger picture sort of questions that you need to be thinking about, because when you start thinking about your website, these tools are not all the same, not at all. So what you want to be thinking at the back of this is, what are you doing with your website? The key features that you want, because you can look at things like, say, WordPress that has obviously huge more functionality in terms of plugins and things like that, but you don't need all those things. And when you have all those things, there's a cost to having all those things as well. So what I would say is, what are the key features? If you need e-commerce, if you need a contact form, if you need whatever it is that you need, find out the key things that you need on your website, and then see which builder is going to be able to provide you with those key features in the easiest way possible so that you can focus on your business and at the lowest cost as well. Also, things like how you want your website to look. You know, are you happy with sort of a template kind of look? Do you want customization? How much does it cost you to actually customize it? The reason why the look of the website is hugely important is because when someone comes to your website, you get 5 seconds. 5 seconds to make an impression. So for me, if the bulk of what you're getting with WordPress is a template-like site, to me, straight away, I'm just like, I'm not really that interested. The trend really is towards authenticity, it's towards customization, it's towards personalization. So that, for me, is sort of a big knock with WordPress. But, you know, you can actually customize with WordPress, but for me, it still looks like a template. You know, but again, it is suitable for some people. It's fine that way. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about what you can do with WordPress, because there are things that you can do with it as well. So I'll just say what the differences are first of all. Okay, first of all, are people following along, and does this make sense? Okay. Okay, so I just want to talk about the differences between WordPress and the software as a service. Okay, so WordPress has been around for about 14 years, and it is an open source platform. That means it is free. It is free in that the software is free, but you still have to be able to use it. There is there's the online version where you can go online and get your WordPress, and you don't have to pay for that. But if you're going to host it so that you have what's called a custom domain, so you have something like www.yourname.com or .ie, then you need to host it somewhere, and you have to pay for that hosting. Now, a lot of hosting companies will have WordPress available where you can install it very, very quickly. That's because it's open source, so they don't have to pay for it. So they can just, you know, put it on their hosting site, and you can get it up and running. The way it works is that if you find a template, so you've got to search for a template that you want. There are some that are better than others, and then you put in plugins, and you log in from the back end, and you do your customization. You do your customization that way. If you look at the sort of the way websites were built, when it came out, it was much, much easier than the way websites were built in the past, which was that they were all done through coding. But I think that, you know, websites have moved on, and we have now what's called the software as a service platforms. They're also known in some cases as a next generation website building tool. And the reason why they're called next generation is because it allows you to do what you want, as opposed to trying to fit in what you're trying to do, you know, with your business and with your content and things like that, trying to fit that in around the technology. Next generation platforms work with you. They work the way you work. So the technology then becomes sort of just an afterthought, really. You don't even really think about it. So it's more natural in the way you actually work with it. And for me, when it's more natural, it means that I get better flow. I can think about it, you know, about my business more. They have done studies on these next generation platforms. I can't say if it's been on all of them, but I know certainly they've done it with, they've looked at Duda, they've looked at things like, I know even my own personal experience with Strikingly, I build a website in 1/4 of the time in Strikingly than I can in WordPress. I am very proficient on WordPress, but for me, because I'm more interested in the business aspect of it, I would prefer to actually build it in something like Strikingly. Okay, so let me just talk about as well just some of the differences between sort of Wix and Weebly, and someone had mentioned Google Sites as well. Okay, so Wix and Weebly, well, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, Strikingly, they're all what's called the software as a service. So what that means is that they take care of all the maintenance. And to me, that's a really big thing. So say with your free WordPress site, those sites still have to be maintained. They have to be updated. The platform has to be updated. The plugins have to be updated. All of that takes time. Now, if you can do it yourself, fine. But that, again, that takes time. There are development companies out there that charge you to do those updates, and many of them will charge around $500 a year to do that. And the reason why is because it takes them time, so they have to charge you as well. And the reason why you want to maintain the updates, it's the same as like you have Windows on your laptop. A new release of Windows, a new release comes out maybe once every month, every couple of weeks or so, and you have to do a Windows update. And many times they're fixing things like bugs, security holes and things like that. So software needs to be updated on a regular basis. And if you are on WordPress, you need to do those updates. Now, some people say, well, I'm not going to do those updates because it's working just fine. And that's fine. Some people do that. But what can happen, I know somebody is actually someone who took my course eventually. They took my course, but they went without doing the updates because they said, what am I getting for this? I'm paying $500 a year for someone to do these updates, and I'm getting nothing. I'm not changing the site. I'm not doing anything for it. So this was an actual monetary expense that he had to pay, and he just said, no, I'm not doing it. Well, what happened was after 3 years, his website just broke. You clicked a link, and it didn't do anything. And it was, in his case, it broke. That's fine. It wasn't actually working. You got the front page. The rest of the page, the rest of the site was not working. It didn't work for him at all. Even worse than that would be if you had a security exposure. Okay, so this is one reason why people are saying you need to update your your Windows on a regular basis, because there's these security exposures that they come out, so you need to kind of protect yourself. So all of that kind of stuff you don't have to worry about if you have a software as a service platform. So Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, all of those. When you build your application on them, one of the requirements is that because they do all the maintenance and everything, you have to host with them. So that's their business model. So they all offer a free version. So you have something like myspace.wix.com, or sorry, yourname.wix.com, or yourname.strikingly.com, or yourname.squarespace.com. Those are all the free versions of your website. If you want something like www.myname.ie, those are custom domains, and that's the business model behind these software as a service applications. So that's where you pay, and the amount that you pay varies depending on the actual platform. So for Squarespace, they have beautiful themes, beautiful templates. If I were not back in Strikingly, I would be looking at Squarespace. They're pretty good. I really appreciate things that are visually very, very nice, and I think it's becoming more and more important on the web as well. But the one downside with them is that they do charge a lot more. They charge a lot more as opposed to, say, Wix, Weebly, or Strikingly. Now, some of the differences between these, Wix and Weebly, and Squarespace is a little bit different, but Wix and Weebly very much operate as a drag and drop. So you drag and drop in elements. So you might drag in a header, or you might drag in an image or a video, or what else? They have separators that you can drag in as well. So there's different things that you drag and drop in these elements on the web page, and that's how you build your web page. For me, I originally thought that this would be good. because I looked at these platforms before I looked at Strikingly, and I thought they would be good, but when I started using them, what I found out was, look, I'm not a graphics designer. Visually, I'm okay. I think I'm decent. I'm fairly good that way, but I am not a trained graphics designer. And I just felt that if you did not have design training, that you could still build a website that just didn't look very good. It could look fairly basic. And for me, it was more important that it had a professional look about it. So for me, I wasn't quite happy with that. Now, all of the websites, all of the software as a service platforms, the way they start is that you start with a template, and the idea is if you want to, you could simply go in there and just replace the text, replace the images, and you will have your website. And even if you did just that, you would have, to me now, you would still have a nicer website than you would with something like with WordPress. I'm sorry, but I'm just allergic to templates. I am allergic to them because I just think it's you need to stand out on the web these days. You actually need to. There's so many sites out there, and if you look like another site, if you look like a template and everything, I just think it's going to be a little bit more work. It's not that it's not going to work for you. It can, but it's going to be a little bit more work. The other thing that I would say, and this is actually just, I suppose I'm just going off topic here a little bit, but one thing in the thread, like when I was reading this thread in the Women's Inspire, I was actually thinking that that some of the key things that you really need to be thinking about for your website is content and your visuals and the message. And I have seen really, really crappy sites, but their content and their message is so good that it doesn't matter. So I actually think that when you're thinking about a website, the main thing that you need to be thinking about, you need to be thinking about your content, you need to be thinking about your message. And even when I said, like, when someone goes to your site, like, that it needs to look the part, what you should be thinking about when they go to your site is, does it tell the visitor who you are, what you do, and how that visitor can benefit? So I actually would think about what you want your site to do for you, how you want it to look, and then look at what are the tools that are going to best help me achieve that. And for me, it's not necessarily a benefit that you have every tool available for you, because at the end of the day, that's like, I've seen people who go out there and they say, oh, I have to put 1,000 products on my site. And in reality, you don't have to do that, especially small businesses. In reality, the bulk of what you are going to sell is going to come from maybe 20% of your stock. So you need to have out there the things that are most in demand. You have to be able to, refresh your if you think of your website as the front of a shop front, you need to change, your display every now and then of things that you're selling. If you're actually selling products, this is a little bit different with services. But if you're selling a product, you want to have fresh new stock every now and then. But you don't need to have 1,000 products out there. And what I would think about is, the more you have out there, that's more maintenance. So really, really have a good look and have a good think about what you want to do with your site. And to me, that's the main thing. Okay, I'm just going to talk briefly about sort of skills and support, because I think these are really, really important. Okay, so for the skills, what I would say is, like, I do a couple of courses on Strikingly. One is called Website in an Hour, one is called Website in a Week. This is how easy it is to actually pick up. When I learned WordPress, I know there are some people who teach WordPress. I know a lady who teaches WordPress in Wexford. She does it over 4 weeks. Now, I'm a techie, and I understand a lot of these things. And I would say it probably, it took me a couple of weeks to learn WordPress, to actually learn it. to become proficient at it, it probably took me months to become proficient at it. And I had been using it for several years. And even like when I see what you can do with some of the other platforms, I actually just would not. If you haven't started on anything yet, I would seriously look at some of the other platforms. In something like Strikingly, I actually give an overview of it, and I build the website in probably about 20 minutes. I build a complete website. Now, for me to learn, I probably learned how to use it over, like I definitely learned it within a couple of hours. I became proficient within it within a couple of weeks. I became very proficient in it. Now, I am a techie, but I'm just showing that's the difference. So it took me months to become proficient in WordPress. It took me, a couple weeks. The difference is it's a huge scale of magnitude. And what I would say is, like, I've been in technologies for so long. What happens is new technology comes out and it kind of overtakes the older technology. And that is the way I feel of what's happening with WordPress. Now, because of the functionality that's coming in with these next generation software platforms, the ease of which you have to sort of customize the websites, what's happening is that they have now developed editors for WordPress to make it easier to do the customization on the website. That does help, and that's a big thing, definitely. So if you have a WordPress site already, you can get these editors on there that will help you to actually customize your website more, which is good. But you still have sort of all the back-end things that you have to take care of, the installation of the plugins, the sort of everything that is not intuitive. So for me, because I want to focus on the business, that's more exciting for me. Again, I just feel like, WordPress is kind of, struggling to stay on here because the functionality that is available in some of the other platforms is just hugely more advanced and easier to do, much easier to do. Okay, so that's in terms of skills. It's going to be easier for you to skill up on one of the other software as a service applications. I will say that they are not all the same. Like I did say, like with SAS, with Wix and Weebly. With those applications, some people find it difficult because, again, if you're not a web designer, it can be difficult because you're saying, well, will I put this image here? Will I put this header here? Does it look right? So that can be an added kind of stress, or people might not be happy with that. The difference between those software as a service applications and, say, Strikingly is that Strikingly uses sections. And actually, Duda is another website builder. Duda is similar to Strikingly. It uses stripes. And so I kind of feel that those two are similar. And to me, I actually think that they are better than Wix and Weebly. Now, Wix and Weebly have been around longer. They've been around, I think, about 10 years, whereas 10 or maybe 12 years, whereas Strikingly has been around a little over 4 years. And the growth that it is experiencing is just massive. And you talk to anyone who's used it, and you'll understand why, because it's just so brilliant. It's so easy to use, and you can create such wonderful sites from it, without having much technical knowledge. And again, for me, it's all about what you want to do with your business. Can you use a site that that will work with you, so so that you can do what you want with your business. Sorry, again, I just talk about the Strikingly. So it works with sections, right? So what happens is instead of dragging in a header or a video or text or whatever, you drag in sections. And the thing that's nice about this is that each of the sections have design rules that are enforced. So you can't make a section look ugly even if you tried to. But as well as, like, each section, although the design rules are enforced, they have lots of customization options. So in some cases, it's as simple as a toggle key. You don't like like the way this design is, toggle it. You know, just literally press one button, you get another design. Toggle it again, you get another design. Does that suit you? Toggle it again, okay? So the design rules are in place. And if that's too stringent for you, they do have an area with the Pro license where you can actually, you know, build sections yourself, build in elements yourself if you want. But I think for many people, you know, if they want to get a website out there, they're going to know, look, I want an about section, I want a contact section, I want a title section, whatever it happens to be. You drag those sections in, you customize those sections, and then you've got a wonderful, beautiful looking website. Okay, so that's just about some of the differences between them. I know I've gone on. I probably should be taking questions here. If you have any questions, I don't know if this is making sense. If you want to let me know how I'm doing. If you have questions, put them in there. And I'm just going to cover as well this last bit on support, because I think actually support, and I might touch on SEO a little bit, okay? So on support, here's the deal with support. Now, the last time I looked with Wix and Weebly was last year. I'm going to have another look at them. But with Wix and Weebly, and I could be wrong, if someone wants to correct me, that's fine. But when I looked at it last year, they provided email support. Email support is grand. It's fine. It's good. You know, as long as they get back to you within a certain period of time, that's great. WordPress does not provide that. WordPress is open source. That means it's free, but it also means it is manned by, for the most part, volunteers and things like that. So there is no real kind of support available, not any formal kind of support. There's forums is what there is. Forums. So what you do if you are having what do you do if you're having a problem with WordPress, okay? You go to your developer who has done the WordPress site for you. You know, you ask them to help you. If they did a website for you, they may provide a certain amount of support for free. Because you've already paid them, you'll be sort of lower on their priority list, so they might get to you within a couple days. In some cases, it can be longer than that, okay? Otherwise, what you do is you go to forums, and you search on the forums, and you look on the forums, you know, is there someone who's asking questions similar to what I have? Okay, answer this. Okay, I'll get to your question in a minute. Okay. Look, you look on the forums and look if they can answer your question. And if you don't see your question answered, then what you do is you submit a question on the forum, and hopefully someone who knows a little bit about WordPress can answer your question for you. So there are lots of WordPress sites out there. The support, there's no sort of formalized kind of support. You know, you may get it through your developer or whatever, but there's no kind of, there's no, you know, there's no formalized kind of support there available because it is a free platform. Okay, so with some of the others, you get email support. With Strikingly, you get email support, and you also have live chat. And for me, this is, again, another really cool thing about it, that you have this sort of live chat, because, and it's available most of the time, actually. I was really kind of surprised. But if you have a question, you go into live chat, and you can get your question answered like that, like just really, really quickly. And to me, that level of support is just, you know, it's huge. It's really, really, it's a big thing that I can actually get on with doing what I need to do and not have to worry about it. That's a big plus. Okay, so I just see Annette has a question here. So if I want to add in events and confidential forms to the site, are there specific apps, or is there a site that will support this? Confidential forms. So let me see. Confidential forms. So if you want to add in confidential forms, I've never had to do that, but I mean, you know, all these things. Let me just see. Confidential forms. So in other words, you only want certain people to be able to download those forms. Is that right? Okay, so I want to add in events. Okay, so I just answer a couple of questions there. So with the way most of these software as a service applications run is that you can install sort of they have their own kind of plugins or apps or whatever. So I know definitely for like Wix and Weebly, they have their own apps. And I should just say with Squarespace, that in terms of the way they operate, they're a little bit differently. It's more of their sort of layout, the way they operate. It's a little bit different. All the tools are a little bit different, but they do offer things that you you know, where you can customize and things like that. Okay, so for events, so I have not tried events in Wix and Weebly. So for Strikingly, you can add in events. So Strikingly has an option. Let me just see, is the internet going here? Let's see. Okay. So Strikingly has an option where if you, anything that has HTML, so there's lots of applications out there where you can embed them into your website, and all you need is a little bit of HTML, a little bit of code. So it's literally like one line of code, and if you go to the sites, you know, they, like for instance, there is like there's a booking system. There's a booking system that one of my clients uses, and they literally just sort of embed it in there. Okay, for events in particular, I use Eventbrite only because it's very popular. I even get clients that way because a lot of people use Eventbrite. So when they go to, they might go there for some other event, and they will, my event will be advertised there as well. So it's kind of like I get the advertising there, so I do use Eventbrite. So you can, with Eventbrite, you can embed that into, say, Strikingly. The confidential forums, I know everybody, there are all of them, I think, offer options where you can download forms. So what I would say is, like, I'm not quite sure how you're going to use the form if you only want certain people to be able to download it. Normally, when you put something on a website, everybody can download it. So can download it or can see it. So in other words, like if you only want certain people to download certain forms, then I mean, you have to, I suppose there's going to be a bit of thought that's going to be involved in that. There's going to have to be some kind of security that's involved, so that only some people get to download it and other people don't. I'd actually have to think about that, to be honest. But certainly, if you want to just download regular forms, people can download regular forms. They can download anything. So, and the other thing that you can do, you can do it on all the sites, but like I just say, like with, it's, I suppose, I know with Strikingly, I can't say with Wix or Weebly because I haven't tried it, but I know like video is becoming really big, and with Strikingly, it's so easy to actually put in a video. It's like incredibly easy. I mean, it's just really, really easy. So it's nothing like what you would do in WordPress. So again, what I would say is, you know, maybe just have a look at the things that you want to do. Antoinette, I'm sorry, I don't know if that actually answers your question. So events, you can add in events. Eventbrite is the one that I am familiar with. If there's other tools, I would, I'd say you'd have to look at the specific tool. Most applications out there that, you know, handle events, they have options to embed them in a website. So if you can embed it in a website, you could probably embed it in any of the different platforms. On the confidential forms, what I would say is really to kind of have a look at, like, that's going to be an issue with any of the sites, and maybe it is going to be, I don't know if that's really important. Maybe there is a plugin available in WordPress. I don't know. I don't know if it has to be done that way as well. Like, does it have to be? You know, I suppose I'm not quite sure what you mean by the confidential. You know, if it's a form, yeah, I don't know. If you, yeah, that was great. Okay, okay. Another that's grand. That's grand. Okay, so for the forms, I'm just not sure what to tell you about the forms. I think I have to kind of understand it a little bit more in detail what you're trying to do. And if I understood a little bit more of what was actually happening, then we might be able to figure out a way, you know, of how you can do it. Okay. Okay. So I don't know. Is there any other questions? So I think I've had a few connection problems here. I'm kind of going in and out a bit. Let me just see. So, oh yeah, okay. So the thing about SEO, I don't know if you're interested in SEO, and also there was a question about one page as well. So I just take a stab at this very quickly as well. So the thing about one page, there was a trend that went, the people started moving towards one page websites. And the reason why was because they were sort of easier to maintain and stuff, but it's more than that. It's also because we are moving, the bulk of the internet data is actually being viewed from a mobile device, okay, from either a smartphone or a tablet. And on mobile devices, we scroll. So if you just think like on, say, a smartphone, when you see people all the time, they're sitting there and they're scrolling. And that's why we have longer pages. Now, people move towards a one-page site because it used to be that in the past, the older websites were a 5-page site. And what you had on a 5-page site was you had a welcome page, you had an about page, you had a contact page, you might have a product or service page. In reality, those 5 sections can now all fit on one page. They can all fit on one page. And it is actually a benefit when you have a mobile device to have them on one page. Because if you have, when someone comes to your site, if they have to click, 73% of them will click away. Whoops, sorry, my hair. What happened there? What did I do? 73% of people will click away. Okay. Oh, I see a booking form. Oh, yeah. It does not need to be confidential on the site or to view therapy. Yes, that absolutely. So, okay, Annette, I'll get to your question in just a minute. Sorry. So, what I would just say is like, I'll just finish this off on the one-page thing. Okay, so the thing is that if you have a traditional site already, say a WordPress site is a 5-page site where there's very little text on there, I would actually, my view is that it would be better on a one-page site than on a 5-page, site that would have just really small amounts of text. Because people will not click. You need to give them enough information on the front page. You need to tell them who you are, what you're about, and also give them enough information so that they can take it to the next step, so they can make a booking, so they can set up an appointment for you, so that they can make a purchase, whatever they want to do that on the one page. Because if they have to click, it's actually not going to be good. Because they will click away. Now, multi-page sites, those are really important as well. If you have the content, you can benefit a lot from a multi-page site. Okay? So what I would say is make sure your front page has that it is that you have on there, it's almost like a brochure. And then you can click away, like, sometimes you can't put everything about yourselves on the front page. So put a little blurb about there so people kind of understand who you are, and then they can click onto the second page to find more. So you can do multi-page, and it can benefit you even in terms of SEO and things like that. It can benefit for you. But if you only have a small amount of content, I would say start with one page and you can always grow it. This is actually really important because, as I said, we are mobile, we are using mobile devices. The bulk of the data is actually going to a mobile device, and Google is telling everybody adopt a mobile first strategy. So this is like really important, okay? So that's the thing about the one page. Now I'm going to get to Antoinette's question here, and then I will talk about SEO briefly as well. So a booking form for therapy that once the customer fills in, it is confidential. That's right. It does not need to be confidential on the site to view or download initially. That is correct. Okay, so Antoinette, just to let you know that what some people have done is they create a booking form and they make it downloadable from the site. And there is a lady. Let me just see. I just let you know here. She's got, now she, this is actually built on Strikingly, and she has a fertility site, and she has booking forms there. Now, let me just see. She has that page if you want to look at it, and she also has another area. So hers is a multi-page site. So she's got it. She's actually got the booking form in 2 locations. So she also has it on the patient area as well. But you can do it that way, where people just download a form and then they complete it and they can bring it in. Or the alternative is if you want, you can actually have the form done online, whatever works. So like when I give my classes, I have people fill out a questionnaire form before they come, and that form is done online, and then the questionnaire actually comes to me. So they click on that form and they complete the form, and then the questionnaire comes to me. Okay, let me just see here. Sorry, where are we going here? Let me just see. I want to get, sorry, I have lost. I'm just going to get rid of one of these here. I'm going to get rid of one. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of one because I can't see Antoinette's question here. This is okay. A booking form for therapy. Yes, fills in. It doesn't need to be confidential on the site or to view initially. Yeah. Okay. Grant. Okay. So I hope I've answered your question there, Antoinette, on that as well. You can either supply a form if you want to, or you can actually link it to a form, an online form, and then they can complete the form online. Okay, so you can do one, a couple of things there. Now, I know I've been on a lot longer than I thought I was going to, but I suppose there's so many things that can be talked about. On the SEO, what I would just say, on the SEO, this is really, really different in WordPress and some of the other sites. Huge differences here. In WordPress, normally what you do is you install a plugin, and then it will go through each of your pages, and it will sort of evaluate the page, and it will say, did you use enough keywords, and you have to, tick yes you did, or whatever, and or did you do this, or did you do that. So that's the way it kind of does that. To me, and it rates it. It'll give you like a rating for each page, and like for me, that's kind of a major pain. Again, that takes time to do, and I just don't want to be spending time on that. I want to be spending time on my business. So the way you do it in things like on the software as a service is, when normally the way it is actually done is like with SEO, the headers are really, really important. So what you do is the headers are more obvious on the form. So when you put in your header, what I always say is to put in something that is very natural for your visitor. So when the visitor comes to your site, they don't want to feel like they're being bombarded with SEO words or being actually sold to. They want to come and have a nice experience, and they want to feel like you're interested in them and you're connecting with them. So what I would say is use the headers. The headers are obvious in these platforms like Wix and Weebly. You drag in headers. In the case of Strikingly, there are sections, and the headers are obvious. So there's a header, there's a subheader, they're obvious. So what I would say is put in a nice header, and if you can sprinkle in some keywords, do it, because the thing that is most important on SEO is the length of time that someone stays on your site. The thing about keywords is that it's only an indication of the content that is on that page. So do that, but focus on your customer experience. Focus on making sure that you connect with them, and that you have a good flow on the site. Focus on your business, and and all of these things. Like if you can focus on those things, for me, the SEO just is kind of naturally integrated into these platforms. Sure, you can do a little bit more. There's things that you can do, like on the the title for your website. In Strikingly, I know they have a checklist, and it's so easy to go through, and it's just like fill in this, this, and this, and if you do those things, you're pretty much fine. And then those are the main things, like for your website, it's a once-off kind of thing. And then in terms of filling out, making sure your SEO is right for your pages or your blogs. That's just making sure that your title is right and you've got your keywords in there and stuff like that. The other thing about SEO as well, and this is big, performance. The performance of your site. This is like hugely big. So what I would say is, again, this is a big difference between sort of software as a service applications and things like WordPress and stuff. And this, like, people do not know about these things. But if you have something like WordPress, people are looking at the hosting. Okay, you can get hosting. People sell them, they think they're all the same. You can get hosting out there for maybe 60 euros a year, really, really cheap. You pay more for the hosting for the software as a service. Now, as a reseller for Strikingly, I sell hosting for 100 a year. So you're paying maybe 40 euros more for the hosting than you would for something like WordPress. But the difference is huge, because if you're paying 60 euros on WordPress, you check them, but normally they are Linux servers. A Linux server is a PC. It is a PC. You are not going to get the performance out of a PC than you will on, say, some of these software as a service platforms. So if you look at the pricing on the software as a service, they will say we'll guarantee you a certain bandwidth. That's your performance. Sometimes they'll guarantee you unlimited bandwidth. That is that is where you pay a little bit more. So the performance, length of time on site, performance, mobile first, those are key. So, those are really, really key for SEO. Those are massive things. Usually all we hear about keywords, yes, keywords are important, but they're only an indication of the content on the site. And Google is becoming much more smart about this, because people have been using keywords all the time. They're saying that they're going to start looking more at the content. The content is really king, and you really need to be thinking about, the visitor's experience, the message you have on there. And then when you think about those things, think about the tool that's going to be easy for you to allow you to get your message out there and to work on your business. That's what I would say. Anyways, I think this went on much, much longer than I thought, just because I get passionate about these things. If you have questions, let me know, and I hope this has been useful. Thanks for coming. I'll just wait here if there's any more questions. So, as I said, I could go on about this, and I just, there's a bit of me that I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if anyone would be interested if I did, like, even sort of a mini class on this. I was thinking about doing one up in Dublin, just to talk to people about this, because the thing is, I think it's really important to know about these things, because when you invest in a platform, it is an investment. It's an investment of your time and money. So I think you need to give it some thought before you actually choose a particular platform. The other thing I would just say is that technology is changing fast. And people who would say, well, WordPress is the biggest out there or whatever, that's what people said about MySpace. Put your business page and everything on MySpace as a social media platform because it's the biggest, and then, of course, Facebook came along. The same with AOL or Yahoo, and then Google came along. So technology changes a lot, and what happens is the newer technology, it actually overtakes the other technology. And the reason why is because you're starting from a different base. And normally technology has a sort of a lifespan of about 10, 15 years. And when I think that WordPress has been out there for 14 years, I really think I think it's on its last legs. Now, it'll push it out a little bit longer, but I just think that, for anyone who has not started out yet, you really need to be thinking about one of these next generation ones. And obviously, I'm really biased towards Strikingly. I just am. Okay. So I do, just to let you know, I do a class on these. So I do website in an hour, which is a workshop, and I'm doing one this afternoon in New Ross here. I do these every couple of months. I'm planning on doing one in Waterford in September, and I might be doing one in Dublin at some point in time, but I don't have anything on the cards yet. difference is that the website in a week is actually really popular as well. The difference is that it's done over a week. And so I use a lot of the same information, but it's done over a week, and you log on every single day, and it just helps you pick up the information a bit better. Okay, so I just want to say thank you again for joining. And if you have questions or anything, you can put them in the comments. And thank you so much for joining. And I hope that has been helpful. Thanks so much. I'll let you go. Take care. Bye-bye.